Saturday, June 20th, 2026, and the time is what time is it? 5:35 p.m. And I titled this one, let me fix my mic. I titled this one Getting Through Losses with a Disability. And I'm gonna talk about losses in a few ways. I'm gonna talk about losses of family members that passed away and losses of family members that's still alive. And I guess where I'll jump in and talk about, like, number one, I think that when we're talking about having a disability, we have to look at it as more. Listen, it can be a drag. I think anybody that really lives in this avatar, lives in a similar type avatar, knows what a drag that it can be. But we have to look at it as more of like, how do I want to say? More like, I don't want to say victorious, but we have to look at it from upside. I'll say it like that. We have to look at this from more of an upside. Yes, there's a lot of things we're limited that we just can't do in the physical. But there are infinite things that we can do in the mental. And I think that that's where I had to find my creativity. I had to find my creativity in the mental. I had to find my creativity in the infinite, because your mental is the infinite, right? It's infinite possibilities. It's infinite possibilities in your mind being disabled. And the biggest limitation is that you have is that you limit yourself when you're in the mental, right? But some of the biggest losses. Let me talk about some of the biggest losses that I had from a transitioning or a passing away standpoint was my brother. I lost my brother in '04, and I went through like a real downward spiral of losing my brother. Um, I was extremely young. I was like 22, turning 23, and he passed away. And that hit me from the standpoint of like, that was my first best friend. That was my first best friend. That was the first person that, my first roommate. That was like a protector. So what I felt like society, or what I felt like the universe did to me, it removed my physical protector, right? And it removed my physical protector because my big brother was really like a big guy. So I always felt like, yeah, you can't mess with me. I'm my big brother. You can't. I always felt with that. But when he passed away, it was like you no longer have that. So it's just like with living in this avatar. When something is taken away from you, no, we can never get it back, but we have to learn how to get strong in other areas. Does that make sense? And getting strong in other areas, um, I learned what I could do. Because a lot of times my brother would do a lot of the cooking for me. My brother would do a lot of things that I just didn't have to do because I was the younger brother. But what it taught me by his transitioning was that, you can stand on your own. You can stand on your own, and you never did it. And I'm gonna tell you a movie that I like. I always liked the movie. It was with Kadeem Hardison and Marlon Wayans, and it was called The Sixth Man. And that's when there are these basketball players, and his brother passes away from a sudden heart attack, and he has to learn how to get through this hard basketball season because he lost his backbone basically, and he found himself within that. He found his abilities to be able to stand on his own and live life without his big brother, and not only live life without his big brother, but be able to become his own man and be a greater ball player without his brother. And you never forget that. You never forget that. I never forget that day being told that my brother had passed away. So these are things you never forget. You just take them with you, right? And so I began to get through life. I began to get through life. I even went through to broadcasting school. I learned what I could do on my own. But that void never, 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 never gets filled. And even though, people will say, oh, that's like my brother. Oh, I have a best friend that's like a brother. Like in the same, or like and being are two different things, right? And what I mean when I say like and being are two different same things, like somebody can be like your family member, but being your brother or being your family member is two different things. Like I have a lot of people right now that's like family, but when family events are going on, a lot of times I'm not invited. I'm sure I could show up, but I'm not invited because, or like having somebody that's like your sister and actually having a sister are two different things. So that's what I kind of learned. What am I talking about? I'm talking about like getting how to get through losses, or how I got through losses, should I say, um with disabilities. And I'm talking about the loss of my brother, right? That's for the person in the comments. And the second thing, hey, how you doing? And the second thing that I really had to learn. Okay, so after that, well, it became the loss of my pops and the loss of my dad. That hit from a standpoint, and I'm going somewhere with this. Just hang with me. And the loss of my pops, it represented something else. It represented something that I wish I could have back to this day. I wish I could have worked on now. Now that I'm the older man that I am, and I know better, right? And that was hard. But then this one became the worst one. This was the worst one of all. And this happened in 2020. The loss of my mother. And let me tell you, that is like the hardest thing when you have a quote unquote disability. I'm not even gonna say it's hard because you have a disability. That is just hard, period, on a person, period. Um, You know, that's hard on a person, period. But why I say it's hard on me for having a disability is because, like, that was my best friend. That was my best friend. That was my best friend. I was just reading some of these comments. That was my best friend. And that hole right there, that left one of the biggest voids. So, with getting through that loss, I went through a lot of depression, right? I went through a lot of depression. Now, and I'm going somewhere. I'm telling you how I went through these things and how I came out of them. And that is the most important part. It's not about going through it. It's not about singing a sad song because we don't sing sad songs. It's about showing how you came out of it. You want to come out the storm better than when you went into it or when the storm grabbed you, right? So you want to come out that thing polished, if you will, right? So, the worst thing about that, it happened in 2020, and then, that's when the pandemic happened. So now you have this world that's shut down. So society is not going anywhere. And I just had a whole lot of time to think. And I'm gonna tell you where it gets me because now it's been 6 years. But sometimes what gets me is like on those days, like Mother's Day. Like when I see some of my friends and they're like, hold on, bro. Certain things will trigger you and you don't even know it. This is why therapy is so important. Never buy into the stigma of therapy is for crazy people. I think to be in this society and be in this world, we're all a little crazy. And crazy is dismissive and it's subjective, right? It makes you a little bit insane. But the best thing I can tell you about therapy is make sure that you do it for you. Make sure you do therapy for you. And what I mean by making sure you do therapy for you, because if you're doing it for somebody else, let's say if you're doing it for a spouse, let's say if you're doing it for your children, then what happens when you remove that source that you did it for? You have a chance to unravel and go back to the place that you started. But when you do it for you, and don't go into it with an ulterior motive, or don't go into therapy with to be tough and say, I'm not going. And I was talking to a brother the other night, and he was like, well, if I do go to therapy, I'm not gonna talk. I'm only gonna tell them what I want them to know. And I said, well, bro, you might as well not go because what you're gonna end up doing, not only are you gonna waste your time, but you're gonna waste the therapist's time. And more importantly, you're not gonna deal with the core issues that really bother you. That was a hurting thing to watch my mom transition. And even though I have cerebral palsy, I was a caretaker for my mother. And see, that is the beautiful thing when I say people don't really understand what it is to have a disability, because disability, they look at it sometimes that it's in a vacuum. And people will think because you're disabled, you just can't do anything. Yes, I have a lot of limitations. Sometimes my body's just not bodying. Sometimes my back is not backing. But still, you have to be able to do things. Having a disability is not woe is me. Having a disability is about resilience, about toughness. There's no such thing as a weak person that's disabled. They may have weaknesses, but there is no such thing as a weak person with a disability, right? And the reason I say that is because you have to be, number one, you have to be extremely mentally tough to have a disability and be into this world. Because number one, not only does society not look like you, not only does the beauty standard or whatever the standard of value not look like you, but they all kind of look down on you in a certain aspect. So you have to be extremely mentally tough. You have to have a level of resilience that some able-bodied people they just can't handle. I watched some able-bodied people that went through tragic accidents and they just can't. They just don't know how to get it together. And those are the things that some of them it drove them to therapy, right? So when you go to therapy, make sure you're doing it for you. Don't go in it with any preconceived notions. Don't go in it saying, "Oh, I'm gonna go in, but I'm not gonna really do anything." That's a disservice. But what you have to do also is you have to be extremely transparent and vulnerable. You have to be open about your experiences, right? And that's partially why I'm here doing this live, because I had to learn to put my experiences out there for the world. Talk about what it's like to have this disability. Talk about what it's like to be manipulated by women. Talk about what it's like to be manipulated by people that call themselves your friends. Talk about how it is when people just look at you and they automatically size you up and think that you're stupid just because you walk different or you walk slower, or you might have to use a wheelchair, or you might have to use walking assistance. But society doesn't train you to teach people to have compassion or therefore understanding of people with conditions, right? So you have to learn how. So through every loss, the only time that that loss is a complete loss is that you don't get up from it. You might be losing. I might have lost my mother, but I gained a lot of wisdom. And I know my mom would be proud. I know she is extremely proud because that was one of the last things that she said to me. And it's like things that I take with me into every day. It's like knowing that I made her proud, knowing that I was able to give her back the things and the nurturing and the love and the caretaking that she gave me and my brother growing up. That's how I get through that's how I have gotten through losses. Right? Losses come and go. People lose finances, people lose fiancés, right? And we place so much value on material things, material substances. How much money does a person have? How tall is a person? What how much does this person weigh? So what it is love always have conditions, right? Love is a contingency, because if this person gains weight or if this person loses that thing, that say if a person had money and this person loses that thing, you're no longer interested, right? But it's not about losing, it's about how you come out of that. And I still go to therapy to this day. Therapy, how I use it, I'm gonna give you tips on how I use therapy. Some days, when I first went through the loss of my mom, I needed therapy weekly, darn near daily. But the more I went and I began to open up and I began to let what I was feeling up out of me, um, it began to not get better, but I began to get through it. I began to gain understanding. That's why I always tell you, understanding is one of the highest levels of knowledge. When you really, or as I say, understanding is one of the highest levels of knowledge. Like some people can read 50, 11 books. I'm from the South, so 50, 11 books. But if you don't understand or you don't have, you're not connected, you're just reading for fun, right? So also, I will also come back and talk about like what it's like to go no contact from my family. I know I said I would talk about a couple of things, but I'll get into that one on another one. Just going no contact with your family and going no contact for an able-bodied person. And you don't always, I don't want to always split and say able-bodied person versus disabled person, but there are differences, right? There are differences to being an able-bodied person and a person that battles with a disability, especially a disability that you can see, because that's the things with ladies. It's not about the person being disabled. The ladies, a lot of times, from my experience, they don't want to see the disability. A lot of times they date dudes that's mentally off. Something is mentally wrong with that guy, but they can't see it. So they'll be a little bit more open to dealing with foolishness, long as they can't see your flaw, because people are so visual, and that's what caused a lot of my depression too. Because being a person that has an open, visible flaw that stands out like a sore thumb. I'm talking about it stands out. You see me coming a mile away, and I have very loud feet. You also hear me coming. So in a world that's caught up and fixated on how you look, imagine how that is. So a lot, but what they do, because like I said, they kind of want to put these disabilities in a vacuum, and it's like as long as you can't see it, it's all right. Because I had a friend, I said had like she passed away. I have a friend that's she's losing her hearing. And me and her would talk about it, and she would say, she said, well, people would always tell her, you don't look like a deaf person. And it's like, what exactly does that statement mean? What does a deaf person look like? So, that's what I mean. That's a part of why I'm here. I'm here to help people gain understanding. And a lot of people just don't understand when it comes to disabilities, right? A lot of people lack compassion. It's like when I used to ride the bus and the train, and this really, it depends on the person and what the world would treat me like. This is a me thing. I don't know if it's a one size fit all, right? But let's say if I'm going through the train station and and I want to know about directions somewhere. Now, sometimes this is not all the time. Listen to what I'm saying. Sometimes the people will be less patient. They're less patient with you. So if I'm trying to get understanding, I'm trying to ask a question. I'm like, "Yo, ma'am, can you help me?" What it would be like? They would be very bitey. They would be like, "What is it, sir?" And it's like, "Whoa." So a lot of times that's why I would like kind of retreat like a turtle inside its shell, because the world treats you like with this level of impatience. Like there's also good signs of it, right? A lot of times people would love to help me. And that's me being so strong minded and so driven. I had to learn how to accept help. Just getting through life, I had to learn how to accept help, because I'm gonna tell you what would bother me if I'm walking and somebody wants to assist me. And I had to also learn that they're being what you asked for. They're being compassionate. They're doing exactly what you asked them to do, right? But when they would walk up to me and they would try to assist me, say they want to help me walk. And I would tell them, I said, I got it. Sometimes I would allow them because they're nice people. They just want to genuinely help. But sometimes I would tell them, I said, yo, I got it. Because what would happen in trying to assist me, guess what they would be doing? They would be slowing me up. Because the way my cerebral palsy work, I have a certain rhythm that I walk with. So if you're trying to hold me up or make me walk in a straight manner, you're, my mind doesn't compute that, right? My mind doesn't compute walking in that fashion, and it's pretty much going to be confusing to me, and it's going to slow me up, right? So you either have people that are extremely helpful. It's like two ends of the extreme, right? You either have people that are super helpful, And then you have people that are just like super assholes, right? It's very seldom that you'll get that gray area, right? And I would always, of course, I would always want to deal with the people that are super helpful. Now, let me tell you one thing that I do like about having this condition sometimes. Well, two things I'll say. Two things that I like is being able to walk in a room. Say there's a crowded room and there's no place to sit. And I walk into this room. What do you think the people would do? The people will offer me a seat. And it's like, ooh, thank goodness, because there's no place to sit. So sometimes this is where it would come back, and I was like, yo, this is okay, because I walk into a room and people will get up and offer me their seat. Also, the parking. Yeah, the best parking in the house. So, and it really agitates me when I remember seeing this one lady on her social media. I won't call her out, call her name. But she actually was helping people that didn't need it get handicap stickers. And I'm like, you shouldn't be doing that. Like, because what happens is, like, what bothers me is people that don't need handicap parking, they're doing it for convenience because they don't want to walk from, say it's holiday shopping and they don't want to park in the back end of the shopping mall or whatever. But what you are doing is you're taking up all the spaces for people that actually need it, right? So, you know, a lot of things like that's what having a disability entails, learning how to get through life and losses. I know I said a lot, but it all circles back around to learning how to get through life and losses. Because in this avatar, you take a lot of losses, right? So if you like my video, somebody asked me, is Tupac dead? I don't know. We have to ask him. But learning to get through life and losses, that is the thing that I'm talking about, right? And it's a part. And even if you are able-bodied, you can't let this stuff break you. This is what I tell my little baby all the time. This is your most strongest muscle. This is your most powerful muscle right here. And to my just people, because where I look to go with my message, of course, I'm here to help my people. I'm here to help people with disabilities. But overall, I'm here to provide inspiration and information and understanding for people. People that will allow themselves, right? So that's what I have today. I just wanted to come back and I wanted to come talk about this. I wanted to come talk about this. Um, and if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up with comments. If you know somebody that has a disability and sometimes they just need somebody to talk to them or they just need a listening ear, direct them my way. Peace.